Freshers' Party Preparations. September 2003. The Freshers' Party. Everyone finds their first college function exciting. We were all pretty cheerful. The seniors would finally stop ragging us. We would be free birds and would be able to explore any part of the institute. Deependra and I were among the top 10 nominated for the final round of Mr. Freshers contest. Bhavna, Beena, and Akanksha were also selected from the electronic engineering batch to be among the top 10 girls for the Miss Fresher title. Being the first official event, all the freshers were excited about the freshers' party, but the hostelers had their own reasons for happiness. We were happy because we thought that at least the militant ragging would come to an end and we could leave peacefully. 10 boys and 10 girls were selected from the freshers batch, and the final 5 boys and 5 girls were to be shortlisted based on the talent. The competition had multiple rounds like a creative introduction section, question and answer round, behavioral assessments, and confidence in speaking in public. All 10 finalists assembled in a room. I was excited and tense since it was the first time my newly discovered talent would be evaluated. Bhavna was also 3. My mind was making guesses. Will she dance or sing? No one in the college was thinking beyond the 2 categories they seemed to have picked. Whether we get shortlisted or not, we will definitely enjoy this talent hunt round. I giggled to Deependra. Yes, the girls are going to dance in front of us, Deependra said, expressing his lewd desire. A jury of 10 seniors had arrived. Wow, what a proud moment! I was lost in my own daydream, which was interrupted by a loud voice. Ajay Pandey, please come forward. My name started with an A, so they called me forward first. There is always a first mover advantage in being first, but this theory was going to be proved wrong in my case. I was standing in front of 60 pairs of eyes. What are you going to perform for your talent round? One senior asked. Mimicry. Quite impressive, a senior said. Go on. I explained the situation. This is fight scene between Sunny Deol and Shah Rukh Khan. Sunny threatens Shah Rukh, saying that if he continues to stammer, Sunny will kill him with a heavy punch. शाहरुख, ये जो तुम हकला रहे हो ना, कहीं 2.5 किलो का हाथ पड़ गया तो हकलाना बंद हो जाएगा. ये 2.5 किलो का हाथ है. जब पड़ता है तो आदमी उठता नहीं, उठ जाता है. There was complete silence in the room. No one had any reaction and my embarrassment grew. A senior asked, That was Sunny? Yes, I said, but I hope that was not funny. In the second dialogue, Shah Rukh asks Sunny why he is focusing on his hands. Doesn't he have anything else to focus on? तुम इतना हाथ पर फोकस क्यों कर रहे हो? तुम्हारे पास हाथ ही है क्या? केवल जिंदगी भर तुम्हें इसी का इस्तेमाल किया है, इसीलिए 2.5 किलो का हो गया है. The whole class burst out laughing and I could see a pair of cheeks dimple. I left the room because the candidates were not allowed to stay there after their auditions. The first candidate had to perform in front of everyone, but the last one only performs in front of the seniors. It's injustice, I shouted in frustration once outside. My desire of seeing the girls dance was destroyed like a house of cards. Why does my name start with A? It should have been Zandu. I cursed my parents. But there was no end to my agony. The results come out the same evening and I was disqualified from the competition. Bhavna, Beena and Akanksha were selected among the top of 5 female finalists. But then the worst happened when Deependra was selected among the top 5 male finalists. His selection was more painful than my rejection. I was worried now because he would eat my head and I would not be able to avoid the unbearable display of his talent for dance. I could have forgotten the result of disqualification if Deependra would have failed too. But after this selection, I had to bear him till this function lasted. Every time he called me for his dance performance audit, it burned my heart and soul completely. I had one more reason to be happy. From that day onwards, I would not have to witness Deependra's humiliating and sucking dance. I was the only courageous human being who had dared to face his performance after being rejected in the preliminary round. The seniors had set the last ragging task. All the hostelers had to sit together and cheer for Deependra. It had been decided that after he had finished his performance, we would have to shout, "Once more, once more." I entered the auditorium, which was packed with 500 students. I sighed, relieved, and thanked God that I had been rejected. I didn't have the courage to face a huge audience. I had been shivering in front of 30 people during my performance in the talent round. Assuming 1,000 eyes, ears, and 500 mouths were staring at me, even as a dream paralyzed me momentarily. A few girls came in. Every one of the girls looked different and more beautiful. I was wondering how this transformation had taken place in one day. I received an answer on close observation. No one was wearing those red ribbons. That day, I had seen the real engineering girls. No more red ribbons and no more strange clothes. It was not ironical to say that on that day, my rural technology college had finally turned to modern technology. Finally, Bhavna entered. Her blackish golden hair was not held back by clips and swung free. Two small golden earrings shone in her ears. She looked like Kajol from the film Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Now I had two reasons why Kajol was my favorite actress, and ironically, neither had anything to do with her profession. The first, she looked like Bhavna, and the other, she was married to Ajay Devgan. I smiled at my own ridiculous thoughts. I walked straight up to Bhavna like a smart chap wanting to flirt with her. She was standing with Akanksha. I conveyed my fake wishes to Akanksha first. "All the very best, Akanksha. What are you going to perform?" "Thanks." She passed a fake smile. "Not yet decided," she said. Now I moved towards my actual target and wished her in an excitement of doing so with a handshake. "All the best, Bhavna. What's up for the talent round?" I said by offering my hand to her. We exchanged a handshake. Her touch injected some electrons inside me. Obviously, some electrons would have to fly after all two electronic engineers met. "Thanks, Ajay. I'm not doing much for the talent round. Going to read one poem," Bhavna responded. I was left with lot of questions. Why do girls always hide things? They have to perform in front of us after a few hours anyway. Why are they so secretive about everything? How can someone in top 5 say I don't have any talent? I have yet to figure it out. And the other says she is going to read a poem. Thank God I'm not a girl. The freshers' party went well and we enjoyed ourselves. As we had decided, we hooted for Dipendra, shouting, "Once more, once more." Even a donkey would have guessed that we were biased, but no one cared. Akanksha danced, and I had to agree that she was a good dancer. When it was Bhavna's turn, I was more attentive. Bhavna began reciting a poem attacking with dowry system and exuded confidence. The way she carried herself didn't indicate that she was facing a crowd of 500 for the first time. Bhavna won my heart. She had told me the truth. Gaurav was sitting beside me and yawning, his eyes watering with every yawn. What a stupid talent, no dance. I gave him a dirty look. Perhaps I was the only one watching her attentively. Finally, the results were announced. Akanksha and Tushar turned out to be the winners. I was happy with both the results. Bhavna's defeat kept her in the list of commoners, and had Deependra won, he would have made my sleeping at night impossible for days to come. Everyone turned to Akanksha to wish her. She was on cloud nine, and for good reason. I took this opportunity to talk to Bhavna, taking it upon myself to share her grief. I moved towards Bhavna, remembering the saying that no two girls can be good friends and one can't tolerate defeat at the hands of another girl. Bhavna was very upset. Normally, Bhavna and Akanksha stayed together, but since Akanksha was being congratulated by everyone, Bhavna stood at a distance. I leapt at the opportunity of becoming a shoulder to cry on. I went to her and said, "Congratulations, Bhavna." "For what?" she asked, frustrated. "Your performance was good exhibition of oratory skills," I said. She didn't reply to that and took her scooty off its stand. "I've to leave. Something urgent has come up," she said and left. I rarely saw her without a smile. She would have cried if she would have stayed for one another minute, and I suspect she cried on her way back. Same evening, in the hostel, some of my classmates were dancing while a few were playing cards. Now that the militant ragging was over, after 2 months of feeling like we had been living under dictatorship, we were celebrating like a democratic republic now. But the ragging had made a few of us best friends for the life. Everyone was celebrating as if India had won the Cricket World Cup. Somehow, I was not a part of the celebration. Even I was surprised at my own behavior. "The ragging is over, Rajay. We can drink with the seniors," Arvind said to me, shaking his hairy belly. I danced half heartedly at that. The celebration went on till 1 o'clock. I was about to lose myself in the world of sleep, but was distracted by a knock on the door. I turned to Gaurav, but he was already fast asleep. I opened the door. "Deependra," the devil walked into my room. After the torture of the last 2 months, 1 a.m. was the normal time for all of us to be awake. He never asked if anyone was sleeping. After losing the Mr. Fresher title, Deependra was a bit sad. While settling in the chair, he inquired, "How were all the performances?" "I know that everyone in the world likes to be praised." "You were awesome," I said. "How was my performance truly?" Deependra asked, trying to make it sound innocent. "You were excellent all the way through," I said, yawning. I was about to finish my statement, but he interrupted. "If I had given a good answer in the question and answer round, I could have been the winner. Thank God you lost. If after losing you are praising yourself like this, then God knows what would have happened if you had won." "How was Akanksha's performance?" "Actually, I was backstage and I didn't get a chance to see it, but I heard that she danced well," Deependra said. He was asking questions and answering them himself. I was being a good friend and listened to him quietly so that he did not feel let down. Bhavna was very sad after the results were announced. I switched to the subject that concerned me. "That was not fair," Deependra said. "What happened?" I blinked. My sleepiness had vanished and I became as attentive as watchdog. "Well, Bhavna and Akanksha's final scores were the same." "Then how did Akanksha win the title?" I asked curiously. "Akanksha scored more in the talent round and a senior made the final decision." "But that is unfair. If the scores were level, then Bhavna should have also been given a chance," I said a bit aggressively. "The seniors were not prepared for a tiebreaker." "But that's unfair." "Why are you feeling bad, Mr. Romeo?" he said with a cunning smile. You did not see her. She was really sad. It was the first time I saw such sadness on that beautiful face, I signed. Now I understand why she was so disappointed. No, she is not aware of this. I just found out an hour ago. The decision was made by three seniors, he revealed. I found this exciting. Mr. Pandey, you can act quickly, Deependra said, excited. Good friends can even understand feelings from faces. Now I have to tell her this to win her trust, I shouted. My shout had disturbed the dead man. Sale Turkey, Gaurav screamed. I woke up early the next morning at around 8 and left for college by myself. Usually I was accompanied by Deependra, but I left Deependra behind on purpose so that he could not take over my plan of showing Bhavna sympathy. Anyway, he was uncontrollable in front of girls and would surely vomit out everything. I reached at 9 a.m. sharp. Bhavna was already in the class, but Akanksha was late. Hi, good morning, I said, sitting down right behind her. Hi, she replied. I stopped myself from telling Bhavna just then because Akanksha was not there. Once she is here, I'll tell them everything. Now it's Bhavna's time to feel good, I thought. Akanksha arrived exactly 2 minutes later, her smile victorious. I started talking to Bhavna. Bhavna, your poem was awesome. Who wrote it? I asked. Don't know. Pooja Di gave it to me, Bhavna said half-heartedly. Pooja? Yes, Pooja Didi is my elder sister. Bhavna was not staying in the hostel. She was living with her family at Allahpur in Allahabad. Her response was a bit bitter. She was not comfortable talking about it. Meanwhile, Akanksha came in and settled in the seat adjacent to Bhavna. Nice dance, Akanksha, hidden talent. Thanks, she blushed and smiled, and I took my first shot. You guys know. There was a tie between the two of you. What? What are you saying? Really? Akanksha exclaimed, as I had expected. Then why was I awarded the title? Why not Bhavna? Bhavna was now attentive as well. Her face went from pale to pink. It's because you scored more in talent round and the seniors were not prepared for any kind of a tiebreaker, I said. Who told you this? Akanksha asked. I mentioned my source. A deadly silence followed. Akanksha didn't say anything. It was possible she was still digesting the shocking news, but soon the silence was broken by smiling Bhavna. Thanks, Ajay, she said. Now Bhavna's dimples and smile were back. Her thanks resonated in my ears for a long time. She said it once, but it echoed as if in an Ekta Kapoor serial. Thanks, thanks, thanks. Ajay, Ajay, Ajay. And just then, Deependra entered the classroom. Chapter 4 Pioneer Computers and My Dreamliner Cycle. The first sessional results were out. As expected, Bhavna scored 24 out of 30, while I scored a 6. It was insulting because I was sure next time I would not score any marks. But according to the great Mr. Turkey, Deependra, we, Bhavna and I, were made for each other as total of our marks were 30, for example, 100%. He always shares his rubbish gyan, but this time I retaliated. If I continue like this, she will be in the third year and I'll remain in the first year. And together, we will complete 4 years of engineering. We were the kind of friends who would fight every day but end up hanging out with each other like real brothers. An invisible thread united us always. Although we both were Turkey, I must say he was my mentor. I came to know that Bhavna had joined Pioneer Computers for C programming. I too had a reason to join the same institute, but there is always a but in my story. This time it was money. I was lost in my agonizing thoughts in my gloomy room. I have spent my whole life going to coaching classes, coaching classes in the 10th, the 12th, and after the 12th, I wasted 2 years at the Excel IIT coaching classes in Allahabad. How will my father feel if I ask him for money for coaching classes again? Oh, I cannot ask him for money. The rational part of mind reasoned. It's better to spend money on coaching classes rather than wasting money on re examinations. Finally, I swallowed and digested a lot of guilt without a single burp, and I prepared to join Pioneer Computers. I tried to convince all my dear friends to join the same. Following some rejections, everyone joined C programming coaching classes. Deependra brought a scooter from his home in Rehand. Gaurav and Arvind were the lucky ones whose asses got the opportunity to kiss the back seat with an explicit condition apply to share the cost of petrol equally. My inability to share the expenses and the fact that I had a cycle on campus forced me to ride the cycle. Riding a cycle is always free, so I called my cycle Dreamliner. Traveling by cycle is quite normal in Allahabad, but it was slightly strange when all the others were traveling by bike and I was the only one traveling by cycle. But who cares if few pennies could be saved? That too for a student like me who only saw money in his dreams. I had a secret desire to be happy. In Allahabad, and especially at a college like IERT, a girl and a boy talking to each other raised many eyebrows. But my joining Pioneer Computers, Bhavna had given me a way to talk to her without a single stranger around. Now I was free to cross the LOC. The first day of the coaching class went well. It was the first time I saw her dressed in casuals. She was not wearing the Pathan style college uniform, but a suit that suited her perfectly. She looked totally different. She had never worn jeans, and after seeing her in the new avatar, I felt that suits had been made only for her. I grabbed the seat next to Bhavna. Half my mind was on Mr. Singh, the Sardarji computer teacher, but the other half was on Bhavna. Arvind and Deependra started teasing me whenever Mr. Singh took a break from a lesson. They whispered, "Short haired friend, previous crush, Ragini." I glared at them and they understood that they had crossed the line and held their tongues. That day, that day after the class, I requested all my hostel pals not to sit beside Bhavna. That seat belonged to me, thankfully. No one protested. Best friends will die for you if you ask for their help to win a girl. But the irony is that in such a case, they will pull you down whenever they get the chance. 2 days had passed, and all I had achieved was a high on a reaching in the class and a bye while leaving. But on the third day, things changed. After sitting patiently near Bhavna, breathing in her scent, and gazing at her earrings, I missed a few C programs. After the class, I made a request. "Hey Bhavna, can you please explain the logic behind this program? I missed it." She started to explain, eyes fixed on my notebook, while the three idiots also peeped in. I winked at them. Deependra winked and they left, leaving the ground ready for me to make my move. Ajay, did you understand the logic behind this program? Bhavna asked. Yes, of course, I replied. Honestly, who cares for C program when love was about to program? She frowned and we started walking towards the exit. Trying to compliment her, I said, "So, Bhavna, you must have scored a good percentage in your 10th and 12th exams to get in on the management quota, right?" I was aware that she did not appear for upseat. She had got into this college through the management quota. Yes, I did well in the 10th, but in the 12th she signed. I was not up to the mark. What was your score? In 10th, I was the school topper. I scored a 91%. I managed 92% in 12th, but stood second, she said modestly. I went numb but managed to remain calm and standing. Ajay, she broke the silence. Bad in your 12th? Unbelievable, I said. She laughed and tried to explain. Actually, I studied under the ICSE board. Scoring in the ICSE exam is a bit easier than in the CBSE exams. How much did you score in 10th and 12th exams? I can't seem to remember exactly, but I passed with first class. I said, careful not to reveal my percentage. She stared at me doubtfully. So, did you join any coaching classes during school? I asked to keep the conversation rolling. My mother taught me until the 10th. I joined coaching classes in the 11th and 12th, she explained. Mother, your mother is so intelligent that she taught you until the 10th. What exactly does she do? My mother is a housewife, but she has an MA degree and is pretty strict about our studies. An MA degree. During those days, I would, and she nodded. Ajay, her mother has studied more than your father, I thought to myself. And what about your father? I asked. She smiled. He has done a number of courses like a BSc, an MSc, homeopathy, and LLB. Any degree left? I interrupted. She didn't say anything, and my comment felt like a poor joke. Sorry, I said. My father loves to study, she said. All I heard was the word love coming from her mouth. So, what if it was meant for something as boring as studying? What exactly does your father do? She asked. My father is an engineer at NTPC Rehan Nagar project, I said. My father was a junior engineer at NTPC, but in order to sound impressive in front of her parents' degrees, I dropped the word junior from his designation. Now he was promoted to an engineer. Congratulations, Papa, for your sudden promotion. I was not comfortable talking to her, so I changed the subject abruptly and asked, what else do you do, Bhavna, apart from studying? I stressed the last word like I thought it was a sin. Currently I'm learning how to drive a car. Oh, it's a massacre. The soldier has been killed in the middle of the field. She owns a car too. Now it felt unbearable to stand there. Moving towards my cycle, I said, okay, Bhavna, see you tomorrow. Thanks for your help. But when you are having the worst moment of your life, it's not swords but words from a beautiful mouth that can kill you. Okay, bye, Ajay. But how will you go back? She asked as her eyes searched for the vehicle among the bikes. Oh God, enough embarrassment for one day. While moving towards my dreamliner, I gathered all my courage and determination and said, I have a cycle. Good night, Bhavna. Bye. I said a hurried bye so that there was no scope for a further embarrassment. I started cursing myself on the way to the hostel. You fool! Her mother and father are so educated. She has a car and rides a scooty every day. And you, Mr. Romeo, look at yourself. You have a Boeing 767 Dreamliner to commute. I scolded myself. Mr. Loverboy, please focus on your studies. I began to direct my anger towards God. What the hell is this, God? Why this injustice? Why? Why? There are thousands of coaching institutes in Allahabad. As my cycle crept towards the hostel, I saw a big hoarding in front of coaching institute. Don't think of what you will receive, think of what you will leave for others. I want to leave this dreamliner cycle behind, I yelled, frustrated.